This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author U and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Alrighty, this month has been all about success. And one of the things that a lot of authors, when I ask them, what is success? What does author success mean to you? And there's always going to be a variable. One, someone's always going to say selling a lot of books. Someone is making a lot of money. Someone else could be being able to give things to charity. I don't want to make a lot of money. I want to give it away. Well, by the way, you have to sell a lot of books to be able to have money to give it away, if that's the goal tied in with a book. Some will say, I want to be on TV. I want to be on radio. Some will say, I want to be invited in to speak for groups. There can be a whole bunch of things that success means to you. And it's yours. So what does success mean to you? A lot of times people do want recognition. Success means I'm going to get recognized for I finally got this baby out the door, on the table. So how does that look though? Which part of that? How do you go about getting that? So that's what we're talking about when it comes to good old-fashioned publicity and PR. And there is, in the old days, publishing with New York, they really handled all of this. In today's day, with a traditional publishing deal, they will create a press release. They always create a press release, and it gets thrown out. I refer to a lot of the traditional publishing as Velcro publishing. If it sticks, they'll support it. If it doesn't, it's called next. So you want to stick. And if you're handling this yourself, you've got to learn some tips and tricks on how to get the stickability out there, so that you can have it. So when it's the selfie time, the independent publishing time, are you ready to do the publicity shout outs that need to be done? So I'm going to start with your website. Do you have a media page on it? You need to. On that media page, you need to have, whether you have a drop down or it's all inclusive and people can find it within it, but you need to have a page that has questions. You do not need to have the answers, but you need to have questions that a host, whether radio or TV, or even a reporter, can start asking you. Now, for TV and radio, I have always put a parens with how many seconds and or minutes it can take me to respond to a question. Why? Because if they're coming to the top of the hour or the bottom of the hour, they're going to a commercial break, they've got a little bit of time, they may want to fill it. They could do it with chit chat, of course, or they could ask you another question, and they're going to scan very quickly to see, do you have something that's a shorty? All right. That's why we do it. The second thing is that you need to have a reasonable introduction. This is not where you went to school. It's not your CV. It's a introduction that says who you are, what your expertise is. Might be something with humorous. I would recommend that it includes the name of your book on that they can quickly have. And you also want to let a host know or a producer knows when you get booked for something, it's available on your website, or you could send them the links to it. Or maybe you have it in a PDF, which I think is a good idea to have, and that you could send them just as an attachment to an email that confirms that you're going to be there. All right. You want to have a picture on your media page, both black and white and color, because sometimes they want to do that. And especially with podcasting, sometimes they have descriptions of who their guests are, and they push those out. So those are all essentials. Now, once you start gathering and you get some clips, some links to something that you've had, my suggestion is that you will make a page that maybe the media is talking and have those links there, those pictures there, and so they can see it. And then lastly, here's some fun that you could do. Start gathering the logos, the image of the station, the network, the paper, the fill in the blank that has had you, because eventually you might make a fun collage of them that someone could instantly see, you're media proof. You've already done this several times. You're not a newbie. Images shouted out. So I'm going to suggest you do all those things. So you want to have, also I would have, so maybe you could create what we call a media alert. Create a media alert on that. And on the media alert, it could be maybe fun facts that you found. They could tie in with your book or your expertise. Some facts, something they may not know about you. I even have on mine 10 facts you don't know about Judith, including one of the facts is I won the big deal on Let's Make a Deal when Monty Hall was on it a gazillion years ago. So they can be fun, they can be off the wall, but you could have all those. Now, next, on your media page inside your website, you're also going to have press releases, and you're going to include all of them. Just have them dated as they go along, and maybe a line about the topic, and have a PDF that they can link to that on that. So you have those there. Now, let me also add to the press releases. You're going to create a press release. For example, this month, and this is October when this is heard the first time, I have my book marketing unplugged. About 10 days before the event, we will start putting out press releases for it and pushing it that way. And that we'll make a couple of them, and we'll keep picking it up, and we will send them to the local area, such as the weeklies. Now, the other thing I'm going to suggest you do, because this is where, you can do a lot of your own media. An event I did in late summer for the Authors Hall of Fame, my offices handled all the media. We didn't have a pro in there. We didn't hire anyone. We created a grid of all the local media, TV, and we did it for the state of Colorado, the TV, radio, and print. And specifically, I told my intern I wanted to know who the weeklies were for all the cities, because here's what's fabulous about the weeklies, and all of you need to get on it, is that you can be the star of the weeklies. They're looking for fillers all the time. They're looking for information to pull out. If you write a good enough press release, and by the way, in your press release, make sure you quote yourself, something about the event, about your expertise, maybe a fun fact, and certainly the contact information, how people can register. You definitely want to do that because you're the star. All right? And include a picture. It's always smart to have a couple of pictures. With that said, you're going to have that on your media page, and you're going to have it on your, later on, you're going to actually push it out individually to them. And then I'll come back to some of the sites where you can push it to as well. But this is what you want to do, and you want to get into the habit and really do that and take advantage of it. And remember, press releases can be about maybe a book award you won. Maybe you're starting a new book. Maybe you're going to be featuring some local names as characters in your fiction book. Who will it be? That kind of thing. You can have some fun here. So do take advantage of it. Now, as we move through this, and go through this area of what to do as you start these shout outs for you that you want to start, that build your website. That's the must have. And also, as you look at this, you need to ask yourself, is it tired? Does it need a little bit of a makeover to bring in a little bit more color and pop to it? Make it maybe what I say more contemporary, more modern, more commercial. All right. That's the first thing. Next thing is you need to look at in your press releases is you're going to include in an event or whatever the activity is that you're supporting, make this new book. You have to think social media campaign. So this is going to be your primary town hall. And I would say that for this, pick no more than 3 platforms to go after. And if you want the media's attention, you do need to be in Twitter. So one of the things you need to know about Twitter, especially if you're going after local press, is you need to know what their handle is. So you can often find that on stations, radio stations, TV stations, newspapers' website. And if it has the Twitter logo, just click on it. It's going to show you what the handle is because it'll say connect with. All I want you to do is copy that, because when you're doing social media postings, when you're posting out something, you're going to include a couple of those handles. That means it will drop in to the newsroom's station. You also want to know, and when you're identifying them, what's the email? When in doubt, sometimes it's just newsroom at. But again, most of that information is available on the website. How cool is that? And when in doubt, if you can't find it, for heaven's sakes, pick up the phone and ask. We'll be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you or another? Author U shows you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you will find a supportive and brainstorming community that is connected and creative, no matter where you live. Author U brings in national experts for its book camps and annual Author U extravaganza. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through Author U's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. Author U is the premier authoring resource in the country, creating community, education, guidance, vision, and success for the serious author. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, Author U is for you. Timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted on its social media platforms, and it is free. Discover Author U, where authors go to become seriously successful. Join Author U today at authoru.org. Are you confused about publishing options? Do you know which printing option is best for your book? Does your stomach flip when you think about selling books? Or do you feel overwhelmed with what to do about book marketing and publicity? Get the answers and much more. Get them and from someone who knows publishing inside and out from both the traditional and independent sides, how to make a successful book. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand and platform, and is a success, a bestseller. It is your choice. You choose. If you want author and publishing success, you want Judith Briles as your book coach. Sign up for her weekly blogs and e-zine at thebookshepherd.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Alrighty, so we're talking publicity, how to get it, how to grab it, how to grow with it. And I was talking about it as we went to the break, your social media. This is huge. So here's one of the things you want to do. And when I am doing campaigns, I literally call it a campaign and I create a whole tweet fest out of it because I'm going to use the media on it. And I may make 10 variable of tweets because you never know which one is going to catch their attention or a viewer's attention. You never know. And you need to make sure that you have an image of some sort that reflects tying with your book or a theme within your book, something that's catchy, visually attractive, or certainly will grab someone's attention. And you select just a couple to go down that path. So social media campaigns are really essential. Now, the other thing is that in publicity, it makes sense that networking comes into play. Well, you need to discover like-minded groups, people that have your topic of interest. I think a great resource is to go to Meetup. Just go to your local Meetup and look it up and just start putting in keywords and see what pops up and start showing up. And in fact, you might even want to consider starting your own Meetup group. After all, aren't you an expert in something? So you start attracting others and you lead the flock. Once you set it up, you can identify, again, your keywords go in and it'll attract other people. Meetup does a push out to all the local Meetup members announcing any new Meetup. It's a great way to start building your tribe. As I've mentioned many times, you need reviews. So one of the ways that you can do them, and you could use, maybe someone gives you just a stellar, off the charts review. You could quote them in a press release. People are talking on that, and you just start moving them out. You know, what's new? You could have a headline, what's new with local authors, for example. And of course, here's a local author that's being talked about. So you could start pushing that out and moving that in that direction. The more reviews and activity you have, the higher you move in the searchable listings. Amazon is a machine, you got to feed it. Just like Google, you got to feed it. And that people ask people to post. You have to be consistent in doing that. Now, the other thing that you should consider in publicity, and these are just kind of things that you should be doing ongoing, but they have to be reminded, is that within your blog, you can do a whole blog around a segment of your book, a character in your book, a dilemma in your book, the conflict that's going on, how you decided to kill a major character in your book for fiction people. How do you introduce new characters? You can do all those kind of things. When you have a series, when you announce a new series, you can announce that within your blog. Now, your blog needs to have 3 C's. You need to be consistent, you need to be committed to it, and you need to provide content. Consistent means that if you do a blog every Tuesday, by golly, come rain or shine, holiday or not, vacation or not, illness or not, you've got a blog going out. That's why you want to write a little bit ahead so you have a few in what we would call the can that you can pull from. And let's face it, sometimes you're not feeling real creative and clever, that maybe new ideas are not flowing. And remember, blogs don't have to be lengthy. They don't have to be long. That one of the blogs that I follow routinely, every morning I read Seth Golden. Sometimes his blogs are 5 lines. Sometimes they're many paragraphs, but they're never long. They're never long. They're just juice, inspiration, things to think about. Don't you like that? How about creating that for people who are interested in your topic, your theme? And then you're going to now hook back to social media. This is where publicity and shout outs come. That you're going to let people know that there is a new blog on this topic. You're going to use all your keywords, give a line or two about that, and push it out. Both Facebook, you could create posters. You could do that area and bring that about. Shout outs help this way. So you keep moving them and let people know that you have them, right? You want to make sure that you go to your any local newspapers that are still in existence, either online or in print, and check their calendars. They often have editorial calendars, and find out if your theme will fit in. Now, a lot of times these calendars, they're looking for material months in advance. So you want to spend some time searching their calendar, and the reporters who are connected with that, reach out, let them know that you're an expert in something, and pull it out and try it that way. You always remember this, to be topical and tie your book to news. So there's a great phrase called newsjacking. Now, newsjacking really comes in where, let's say there's breaking news. Of course, they always say there's breaking news. But let's say there is truly something breaking, something, whether it's a calamity, a tragedy, an outrageous event that's come along, and that it just happens to hint or tie in directly with what your book is about or your expertise is about. Create quickly a short press release and shoot it out. You've created a master list. You've already got that going. You've created handles on Twitter that you can put out, that you can tie into this, that you can make comments, that you can get 3 tips on what happens if a fire hits your street. What happens if there's a burglary, and what you can do to support it. That's the kind of thing that you're looking for to make it easier for yourself at all times, and you get going. And you become really what's known as a source. And when you're a source, they come back to you, and that's always a good thing. It's always a good thing when you have that in your neck of the woods, okay? So you want to try that. And then you want to think about other venues that you could reach this out to and let people know that you could be a resource. And then, of course, lastly is to come back, and I've said this multiple times in this segment, is you create a press release. And you want to get into the habit of doing this often. And a lot of times people think it's just a one-shot pony. You only do this once and you never do it again. And let me tell you, you want to do it again and again and again, and get variables, get new headlines, get a new quote within it. It always will make a difference. So I promise you, it works. You got to try it. You got to get on board, and you just got to do it in that process. And it will be just life-changing for you in picking up the publicity that you want to get as you go along. All right, so what else can you do as you go forward here? Now, remember, your book is not for everybody. It's not for every show. It's not always for Dr. Oz. It's not going to be for Ellen. It may not be for Martha or for the Today Show or for the Good Morning America, but it could be for a lot of other little guys that are out there. Even your local area comes into play that can take care of it and bring it about. So you want to really look at this of where you can go, where you can get your name out, how you can get your name out, who do you know who can bring it about, and and anything that will bring you along in this way. It's exciting. It's amazing what can happen when you start getting your name out there. It's amazing when the press starts recognizing you. It's amazing when you start getting callbacks, when you are known as the resource. So that's what you want to do as you move forward in this thing called book publicity. So get over thinking you're for everyone, because you're definitely not. Now, the other things that you need to bring about are photos. And let me talk about photos quickly, because this is where everybody seems to get in trouble, that they don't think that they need to have terrific looking photos. You need great looking photos. You need fabulous photos in this process. And this is where you need to get a professional photographer in play, one who will do casuals, who understands author photos, publicity photos, who can not get you from the old graduation, senior prom day and all those, but photos that really will make a personality, that are engaging, that invite people in, that say, yeah, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want, where I want to go, what I have. That's what you're looking for. And there are people out there who really do specialize in author photos. So in Colorado, I can tell you right away. But what you've got to find them is in your neck of the woods where you live, so you can really put it together and make it work for you. All right, so you're going to get photos. You're going to do press releases. You're going to learn how to pitch yourself. You're going to shout out like crazy, and it will make a difference in everything that you do in this process. So that's part of the publicity pitch. So when we come back in our final quarter, I'll tell you some of the things that we do when we do hot seats with authors, and they start in and we start doing brainstorming. This is Judith Briles. I'm your book shepherd, and it's Author You, your guide to book publishing.
Is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Discover the power of you and your book at the Judith Briles Unplugged events. Each summer, Judith Briles Book Marketing Unplugged unfolds over 3 intensive days working with just Judith. You get publishing strategies, author and book platforms, book marketing panache and pizzazz, and authoring tools to take you and your book to rock star success. In the fall and winter, Judith Briles Speaking Unplugged includes Judith as your coach and mentor during 2 powerful days. You will learn how to structure a speech, how to create openings and closings, how to find gigs that pay you and sell your books, and you will get one-on-one coaching. Go to thebookshepherd.com and click on the events tab to learn how to participate at the next Unplugged Workshop event.
First impressions are everything in the world of book publishing. Whether your book is an ebook, a print version, or both, your book cover needs to pop, sizzle, and sparkle to immediately capture the attention of your audience. And your book's interior needs to be just as dynamic and reflect the professionalism your readers demand. Nick Sellinger of NZ Graphics has won numerous national and international book awards for his cover designs and interior layouts. With over 20 years of experience in graphic design, he knows what it takes to create award-winning books and the many promotional pieces that authors need, such as posters, banners, postcards, one-sheets, business cards, logos, and more. Visit ncgraphics.com and see what authors and publishers have to say about their award-winning books and how NZ Graphics can make your book the success it was meant to be. That's nzgraphics.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Okay, so publicity. Yep, you do. When do you start working on it? In the beginning. It's part of book marketing. And a lot of authors don't get that. It's really, you start setting the stage. It's where you go from your building, from your infrastructure. It's everywhere. So tips for publicity come from a variety of animals out there. And I know that we have done so many shows with the amazing Joan Stewart, the Publicity Hound. And one of the things that you want to look at is, so, what makes you shine? What makes you maybe stand out from other people who are maybe competing with you, and that are maybe in the same area that you are, that they are have books just like yours. How can you be different? And the reality is, you can always pop. You can always be different. You can always move into an area where you can really jump and do that. So one of the things I think that is important, and I mentioned earlier about this thing called newsjacking and jumping into that. So that if you can remember, just that, let's say you're a relationship expert, and there's a lot of people who write on relationships. Well, there's always some celebrity who is going through a divorce at some time. And when it hits the paper, have you thought about newsjacking that? Have you thought about coattailing on it to get some free publicities? Many of you, as I said, are experts. Authors, speakers, marriage and relationship counselors. It could be business coaches, crisis managers, financial advisors, accountants. Fill in the blank here. And so that what you could do is, when you see something, for example, like a dicey divorce story, in my illustration here, it isn't just a divorce story. It could be a business story that has made the front page of the Wall Street Journal because of the size of the divorce and the individuals involved. And if that's the case, could it affect stock? Could investors be jittery about it? What power could one of the spouses have over the other power with maybe the split up? Could it dramatically affect the company? If you've got a expertise in the finance area, you could step in and talk about some of that stuff. And so what if there are kids? How are these kids are going to be affected? If you're in relationships, you could talk about the impact of children and what's going on there. And so there's a whole stream that you could go through. So there's lots of things that could come up that you could bring forward and really milk, literally, for your benefit to support your expertise, and you look like you're the cat's meow, and bring that up, which would be terrific. So there's another thing, and that if you're trying to find, for example, what if you think that you need a celebrity? Well, to support what you're doing for publicity, a lot of people think a celebrity would help me. How can I contact a football star? How can I contact a movie star? How can I blah, blah, blah? All right, there's a great little book called the Celebrity Black Book. And one of the ways, you can pay a lot of money for it, but heck, get the year-old edition, and you can find it on Amazon for probably under $20. And these are how celebrities possibly can help you. That you may be looking for a way to, maybe they have a favorite cause. You never know. But this is where you have to look them up. And if you go to the Celebrity Black Book, You can find out their contact information. So maybe you want to interview them. Maybe you're looking for a quote. It could be that you're looking for an endorsement. Maybe you're looking for a sponsorship of anybody. But that there's something called Contact Any Celebrity, which is a subscription service that you can get a hold of. And you'll find it's recommended in a whole bunch of books, including Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, Dan Kennedy's No BS Marketing to the Fluent, John Kramer's 101 Ways to Market Your Books. But what I like about it is that I always carry an older copy so any of my clients can use it in that area. Now, if you've ever tried to figure out some ways to get a journalist's attention, the first way is to newsjack something. That gets their attention. If you've got a breaking news, if you can tie into it, add as an expert, let me tell you, this is the way to do it. And you've got a hot story, if everyone's buzzing about something, that you can add on to it. There's also you can look at pitch a follow-up story that's about you. Let's say your daily newspaper wrote a story about you. You have a little business, and they wrote a story about you a long time ago. A year's gone by. You've met all your goals. How about doing a press release and doing a follow-up? Call the reporter who wrote the story and say, hey, I've got a follow-up to the story you wrote about my business last year, or about my speaking, or about my book. And not only has this happened, but this has also started. And I think it might be of interest to your readers. And then you give the update. And make sure that you always have the follow-up is the media's lingo. So they like follow-ups. Do you have a video? Have you thought about doing a video or tips that might go along with it? And why this idea could work is news consumers want to know the rest of the story. So for that reason, journalists, broadcasters, bloggers, and podcasters love follow-ups. So do pitch yourself as a follow-up. Now, it could also be about someone else. A year ago, I picked up Tom Hanks' little book, and here's what I discovered. Tom Hanks has 300 old-fashioned typewriters. So because of the technology burnout, a lot of people are kind of thinking that the retro look and using a retro typewriter is kind of cool. So let's say you want to read a story in a local business about a type-in at a local coffee shop or something like that. You can call the business magazine and you can pitch a follow-up story about that and take it that way. Or always consider, and I'm going to go back to the event calendars that I mentioned in the previous segment. You want to know about event calendars. Is there a special section coming out? There's always seasonal special sections. That fall time always brings something about Halloween. You've got October, which, by the way, is the biggest book-selling month. You've got the Thanksgiving. There's always, for any cookbook person, you ought to be all over this for doing special recipes, new sides that will have your diners shouting out. You could have and add that to it and bring it about. All right. But what you want to do is that tie it in to the editorial calendars, come up with maybe, 5 tips for your Thanksgiving table, 5 tips for a harvest tea, 5 tips to get ready for winter with a soothing spread, something like that. And then there's also one other goodie that you all should be using, which is HARO, HARO, and it stands for Help a Reporter Out. It delivers hundreds of free publicity. Now, you might go crazy with the amount of emails that you're going to start getting because they send 3 a day, morning, afternoon, and late afternoon, early evening. And a lot of people say, I can't stand it because it just takes too much time. Look, you can get through HARO in just a couple of minutes. All you have to do is look at the very tippy top to make sure that there isn't something in it that might grab your attention, warrant your attention that you should pitch out to. These are, and usually they're put in anonymously by reporters for some big journals, big magazines. Sometimes they're small. Sometimes they're podcasters looking out, but they're looking for experts or people who can make comments or have had experiences on that. That's you. So look for it. They break them down. It's business, it's health, and it's like book sections and book genres. It's going to be broken down like that. So they'll do a quick summary on top, look it over. If none of it appeals to you, delete. If something does, go further, because then there'll be more details further down. So that's what you're looking for on those kind of things. Take advantage of that, because that will make a difference in what you're doing. So those are a couple of tips that you can go through and be successful with publicity. And then I want to add, as we do a wrap up here, that one of the things that's very important is that always send a thank you. If you can get a snail mail address, people remember that. The mail has dropped in half. Snail first class mail has dropped in half. So what you want to do is take advantage and send a thank you note. If anyone has ever covered, whether it's a reporter, whether you can certainly do it by email too, or sometimes I'll go into, I have an online a service that I have where I write personal notes or I send cards. I'll send those out, thanking them for the great coverage they did, and etc. Because you want to be able to do what I just suggested a few minutes ago, be able to reach out in 6 months to a year with a follow-up. How cool is that? They will remember you and all that. And all the publicity I got from my big Authors Hall of Fame event, I did that with all the reporters who really reached out and did so much. And all of them said, please let us know when you have another event. That's exactly what you want to hear. This is Judith Briles. It's Author You, your guide to book publishing, and we're here to answer questions. You can always email me at judith@briles.com if you have them. Sometimes we'll use them. Make sure you check out my blog on Tuesdays.
A part of your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week, a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take you, the author, to the next level. You'll learn tips and secrets on how to create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve book publishing success by making one very simple change in your book's journey. How to avoid the publishing predators. How to create an author and book platform that rocks. Learn how to make a living with your words and your books. Learn how to publish a book that has no regrets, and so much more. For more information, check out AuthorU.org, where authors who want to be seriously successful go. And Judith's website, thebookshepherd.com. Then join us again here next week for more. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Brought to you by Author You and the Book Shepherd. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Far too many people believe the answers they seek exist outside of themselves.